Right, hello. Today I'm lucky enough to have our help desk manager Olivia with us. Olivia is usually doing all the work while I mess around making YouTube videos, but today she's here with me, so someone else will be doing all the work. We're going to go through some important stuff that happened recently that businesses will want to take note of and protect themselves from, as well as some general chewing the fat and hopefully good ideas about how to use IT in a business. Hello, Olivia.
Hello.
Right, okay, so what's happened recently? Marks and Spencer's got hacked, and I don't know if you heard this, Olivia, because I actually only heard this today. Co-op managed to avoid getting hacked, so maybe we'll discuss that in a minute. But just to go through what happened with Marks and Spencer's. Marks and Spencer's experienced a severe cyber attack over the Easter weekend, leading to the suspension of online orders and the shutdown of its website and app, while contactless payments in stores were restored, gift cards remained unusable, and many existing orders could not be fulfilled. The company is involved in the National Cyber Security Centre and the Information Commissioner's Office in the investigation, though the responsible party has not been identified. Firstly, I think the responsible party has been identified. I think it was Scattered Spider, who are a Russian hacker group who I don't think is state-sponsored. I think they are purely set up to make money. And it's the same company that hacked MGM casinos in Las Vegas. So I'm pretty sure that that's come out now, and that's what's happened. And I actually heard that they still are not fulfilling online orders, I believe. Their agency staff who work at their depot in Castle Donington, I think it is, were basically sent home, and that was yesterday, I think. So yeah. I think they're still not fulfilling online orders. So, I mean, it's scary to think how much that will be costing them. But Olivia, what do you know?
Well, they've recently had to stop hiring people. Like, their recruitment is fully shut down as well, which I suppose is to help protect employee data if the ransomware is still on there, but I can't imagine how much money that this is costing them.
I mean, yeah. So there's two issues there, isn't there? So, like, firstly, people are being sent home from their jobs. I'm assuming paid, but people are getting sent home for their jobs. Is there going to be jobs for them long term? That's not great for UK employment because they're a pretty significant employer. But secondly, the second point you made about how much is this costing them, it's scary. If they're not taking online orders, I mean, I don't know enough about Marks and Spencer's revenue, but that's going to be huge. That's going to be millions. That's going to be millions. I mean, I would anticipate at the bottom end they're probably doing 500,000 of web orders a day. My guess would be it's probably like 1 million, 2 million a day, something like that. I mean, it's maybe higher. I don't know. I look at the hacking side of things. I don't know what their revenue is, but it's scary really that there's twofold. It's obviously they got hacked and that's bad and that shouldn't have happened, and details are scarce on how that happened, but also how quickly you get trading again is like another, like the disaster recovery plan is like a whole nother side of it. I know in terms of how they got hacked, I know Scattered Spider generally exploit human weaknesses, so they're not necessarily sitting at a computer and breaking passwords. A lot of it is getting people at MGM resorts or Mark Spencer's to give them their passwords, to trick them into giving them access, like social engineering, human engineering, and just tricking people into doing these things. So that's a whole nother thing of cybersecurity awareness training and things like that. But we're maybe digressing a little bit, but it's big. Well, however you break it down, it's massive. The one, they got hacked, and two, how long it's taken them to trade again. I could have said that in about 20 seconds, Olivia, but I spent about 20 minutes doing it.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it just proves how important it is, and nobody is too big to be safe from it, and no one's too small to be safe from it. It's showing a trend that we're all seeing in a rise of cyber attacks, whether they're financially motivated or politically motivated. You're just seeing so many more attempts now, and it's really important to get your cyber security locked down so you're not at risk.
Yeah, I think you smashed it without that you're not too big to be a victim, and you're not too small to be a victim, because I think you hear about Marks and Spencer's because they're a massive company. I literally this morning was talking to someone. They're hairdressers in Northumberland, in a small village in Northumberland, did nothing with their IT support, and they got hacked. They had people whose haircuts they do had their credit card details on the system, because people book online and pay by card, and they've had thousands spent on their credit cards. And that's a small hairdressers in Northumberland, and they no doubt thought they were too small to get hacked. But you don't hear about those things unless you speak to people like us, who are then brought in to protect these people. And people will have this misconception that they're too small because, I don't get hacked, Marks and Spencer's get hacked. Well, no, everyone gets hacked. And that was literally this morning. A hairdresser told me that they'd been hacked and they needed to sort that out. It's difficult for us because we're selling it. So of course we're going to tell people that they need to protect themselves from it. I understand that. I'm not naive. People are going to go, well, of course you're going to tell me that I need to do it because you're selling it. But hopefully people appreciate that I'm being honest, and that these are things that they need to protect themselves from, because it's not just them, and it's not just their employees, it's their clients. It's actually a much bigger pool of people that they're protecting than they realize, because as we just said, if they lose a client's credit card details, even they don't work for them, but they've lost their personal data, and forgetting that if they don't uphold their end of the bargain, they could get in trouble with the ICO under GDPR and things like that. That's a whole nother side of it. Forget cyber insurance and whether they would be covered if they don't tick certain boxes and wouldn't get a payout. That's a whole nother side of it. Just taking it from the human element, that you're protecting yourself, you're protecting your employees, and you're protecting your clients. And that duty of care is serious. And just to say, we're not going to get hacked, quite frankly, it's not good enough. These things have to be taken seriously, and like a lot of things, people don't do it until it's too late. But look, hey, I'm not immune from this. I was planning on getting a camera to film my driveway for years. It was always in the back of my mind, and then my car got broken into, and then what was the first thing I did? I got a camera to film my driveway. I'm a flawed human as well, but I'm telling people what they need to do is protect themselves, protect their businesses, and protect their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that people understand how you can get fined millions of pounds for loss of customer data, because you have a responsibility to protect not only your employees, yourselves, but your customers' data. And it's incredibly valuable. And selling data to data brokers, whether it be phone numbers, something as simple as a phone number, or credit card information, you have a responsibility to protect that information. And it'd be interesting to see if M&S get fined for loss of employee or customer data. And
we're still learning about this, obviously, but that could be, depending on how they gained access, that could be unfair, because M&S can put in all manner of precautions, But if someone has literally just given out their password and signed a hacker in somewhere where they shouldn't, you unless you're sat next to your employees all day every day, you can't protect against that. Now, I'm speculating. I don't know how this happened. It might be the M&S were woefully underprepared. I don't know. Time will tell on that. But as you say, they can get massive fines, and that could be just, that could be adequate. They could be just massively unlucky. And you know, companies like M&S, to some degree, they can weather that storm because they will have cash flow and they will have money coming in all the time. Smaller companies, if they're quite seasonal and it catches them at the wrong time and they don't have that cash flow to weather the storm, well, that could be it. It could be the end of it. And it's worth mentioning that the cost of protecting yourself isn't actually that high. I think it's something like £6 or £7 per device per month, and that's like quite a high end of cyber security protection. If you wanted to do it cheaply, you could do it for like £3 or £4 a month. I mean, I wouldn't suggest that by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, if you really wanted to do the bare minimum, you could do it for £3 or £4 a month per device. But yeah, even to do it to a sufficient level is not that much. It's certainly not enough to mess around and risk losing your livelihood, your staff's livelihood, and potentially some of your clients' livelihoods. It's madness. It's not even worth thinking about not doing. It's you'll kick yourself so hard if it happens to you. It's crazy.
Yeah, and if you know, you can wait and think that it won't happen to you, but then you end up having to it's like placing a bandage over a bullet wound. It's like they're already in, we can get them out, but you've already lost the data. You've already made yourself a target to these people. So it's, you know, benefit of hindsight, yes, but people need to be taking their cybersecurity more seriously and do preventative measures instead of reactionary.
I mean, there's a whole argument here about, you know, being proactive with your IT, something I go on about all the time, but being proactive with your IT actually making you money. And that's probably another conversation for another video. But you know, if you're sensible, the money you spend on these things will make you money, will make you more than you spend. But we can cover that another time. So leaving Marks and Spencer's to one side, but maybe we'll come back to that in the future once more information comes out. I mean, we've talked about businesses realizing they're not too small to get hacked. Like, what is, you know, realistically speaking, what is the state of the cybersecurity landscape in the UK? I mean, how vulnerable are businesses? Because I know, and you know, because we talk to people all the time, they believe that they're probably too small to be a target. I know that these things sometimes are targeted, but sometimes they're just speculative. People throwing mud, see what sticks. How bad is it out there? You know, how likely are businesses to actually, one, be attacked, and two, a hacker successfully get in? Last I heard, it was like 3% of companies are hacked a year, not attacked, but hacked actively. A hacker gets into their network and extorts their data. I mean, how true do you think that is? Do you think it is 3%, or do you think it's probably more or less, or like what's your feelings?
I think depending on, you know, what your definition of a hack is, because there's all types of different, you know, ways to lose your data. But for last I heard, it was 50% of small businesses have been the victim of some kind of cyber attack in the last year.
Right. I mean, that's mad, because so clearly clearly that's not actual kind of systems down, costing money, people demanding payments in terms of ransomware. That I assume is passwords have been compromised, so their passwords have been found on some database somewhere, or they're, something like that. Would you agree with that?
I assume so, yeah. I mean, ransomware and that kind of hack and somebody getting into your network is like worst case scenario. That's like, the most severe to a certain extent that you can get. But you can't forget the little things like phishing attacks and stuff like that. I think that is also important to think about and important to know about.
Do you think that's included in that 50%, the receiving the speculative email? Sorry, receiving the email. Do you think that's included, or what do you think that 50% compromises? I don't know what word I'm looking for. Makes up. What do you think that 50% is? Because I would say if it's someone receiving a phishing email, it's going to be higher than 50%.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know anybody who hasn't received a phishing email. I mean, unless you have like top-notch email filtering, you're going to receive a phishing email at some point in your career. So I think that 50% doesn't include just receiving a phishing email. I think that 50% is clicking a phishing email or
so engaging in some way. So maybe not completely being compromised, but engaging some way in the attack.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes it, because I know what people watching this are going to say. There's no way it's 50%. There's no way 50% of businesses are hacked a year. Like, get out of town. It'd be disingenuous for us to sit here now and go, yeah, 50% of businesses are being hacked every year. So but yeah, I'm with you. Like, definitely 50% of businesses will have passwords compromised every year, at least, if not more. 50% of businesses will click on a phishing email every year. Someone will. You've only got to have 4 or 5 people in the business, and someone's going to click it. If you're getting to 50 or 100, then someone's probably clicking every day. So I would say, yeah, in that respect, 50% of businesses easily would be a victim of a cyber attack and have information compromised in some way. But this is the thing, isn't it? Because companies probably don't see it unless it's in their face: loss of business, loss of clients, loss of reputation. They experience a significant loss in some way. They might think, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. But it's like jumping red lights in your car, isn't it? And having some near misses and going, oh, it wasn't that bad, until you're actually in a car crash. It is that near misses are pretty bad, and that's why you've got to have all your eggs in a row, or ducks in a row. Is it eggs in your basket or ducks in your basket? I don't know. In a row or in a basket, that is like allows you to not just maneuver and grow and make more money, or whatever your worldly desires are, but protect yourself from loss, and protect yourself from it all going to I don't want to swear, but hitting the fan, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And you always hear about the big hacks, the ransomware attacks, things like significant loss of data, but you can't forget that little things also can add up. Like, you wonder why you're getting so many sales calls from scammers overseas, and it's like, well, it's probably because your data has been compromised and you're in some sort of data broker's site and they're selling people your data, and that's where it can be most valuable.
I mean, it's so funny because we obviously work in it, but people are so unaware of the coming wave, really, and the coming storm of how easy it is to get someone's voice now and make scam phone calls with their voice. Like someone could clone my voice and ring you and say, oh, it's Darren, Olivia, can you do this for me? And you probably wouldn't question it. You know, I would hope you would question it because we're discussing these things every day. But there's an element of, well, Darren does speak to me, you know, 5 days a week. So there's nothing weird about Darren ringing me and asking me to look at something. You know, which then bleeds into if someone in the accounts department does get phone calls from the managing director saying, oh, we need to pay this, can you transfer the money? You know, and you can so easily clone that voice now. And then, you know, there's a whole nother kind of debate around shadow AI, like how AI is deep faking videos, and you know, how that's going to play out in courtrooms where people are just going to say, that's not me, it's fake. And then, you know, the prosecution have got to prove that that is them, that it's not fake. They did get caught on TV and they did do that. But there is a valid argument there to say it's faked. It's not me. It's going to be massive, and it hasn't happened yet, but these things are just going to be normal in a few years' time. You know, it's has to be taken seriously because it is so easy now to clone people's voices, clone people's likenesses, find out who their employees are on LinkedIn or, you know, whatever it might be. Find out so much about businesses that people who aren't dealing with this every day won't question it. They'll just go, oh, that sounds realistic. That's potentially true. I'll do that. It's not like it used to be where you used to get an email from a Nigerian prince saying, oh, I've got loads of money for you. You don't need to do that now because we have so much information on people. So much, and it's so easy to get information, and it's scary. It's scary how easy it is now and how easier it's going to get over the next year or two.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's what I say to people, you know, all the time. We learn and we know about this stuff and we're involved in this stuff because we work and we're passionate about it. We know all of the stuff you need to know, but don't necessarily want to fill your brain with. You know, we want you to be selling jewelry or providing acoustic materials to building sites. We are here to know about this so you can feel safe and protected. It's literally our job. So you need to be confident and sure that your IT provider or who you are going to with like your phishing emails, they know what they're doing and they're switched on. Because a lot of the time, you know, you see IT companies who, you know, they don't necessarily know all that much, and you know, they know resetting passwords. And I mean, I remember working in the NHS and trying to talk to some of my colleagues about phishing emails, or have you seen this new thing that they're doing that we need to make people aware of? And it's just, sometimes they don't really care. It's just a job. But when you are passionate about it, it doesn't feel like a job. And that's the kind of person who I would want looking after my data.
Yeah, I think look, I think firstly, I would say that I know some people that run IT firms and I get on incredibly well with them, and I ring them and we just talk to each other about how things are going. And there's some amazing IT companies out there. You know, and I have to say that to preface what I'm going to say now. Most IT companies are dog shit. They just are awful. But I talk to a lot of people about their IT who don't use Aurora, and they say, oh, we're taken care of. They assume that they're taken care of. And I get that. Of course you're going to assume you're taken care of, because you're paying someone for a service, and they give you lip service, and they tell you all the things that they do and how good they are. But I would tell you now, most of them are not doing it. Most of them are not doing it. And yes, there's some brilliant companies out there, but to take your point, like, if you find a company who are passionate about it, passionate about what they do, and that passion comes across, and you can tell just by talking to them that passion comes across, but then also have a philosophy, because it comes down to more than passion. Passion's great and passion's fantastic, but also you've got to have a certain philosophy of how things should be, because there's also IT companies that are overkill. I was talking to a company about a month ago where they wanted me to look at a quote that they'd been given, and a load of stuff that was on there would have been sufficient when they had an in-house server to protect that in-house server, but they were basically being sold stuff to protect an on-site server at their offices they didn't even have. So it's like a security company saying, oh, I can sell you all these locks for your shed, but the shed's empty. Well, it's pointless. Don't spend £800 on locks for an empty shed. Now they don't know this, because they have to trust their IT provider, that their IT provider is giving them good information. It's a minefield, and I get that, and I understand that, and it's so frustrating, because every business everywhere is a cardboard cutout of how they should be when you talk to them. And it's probably worse with IT and mechanics and things like that, because people don't understand. So they have to trust that when they take the car in, what they're being told is accurate. They have to trust that what their IT provider is telling them is accurate. They have to just have faith in them and trust them. And they only find out when it's too late. They only find out that they weren't being looked after when it hits the fan, when there's a problem. And, and look, I'll hold my hands up. We're not infallible. We've been going over 20 odd years. And in those 20 odd years, we've found ourselves, in situations that we didn't want to be in, but we're still here because we have a passion and a process and a philosophy that means that we are one of the biggest in our area, and we do some pretty good stuff, and it's all going well for us. Touch wood. I think once these tariffs properly kick in, we might be having a different conversation. But it's so much more than ability. You've got to use that ability. Don't put it to waste. And I think, speaking for myself now, my brain doesn't just say IT. My brain says, what processes do you have in your business? What strategy do you have in your business? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Do you have bottleneck? Like, are you sat on a beach when you're on holiday thinking, oh my God, like, this isn't being sorted out? Are there bottlenecks, and are there challenges that we can solve? Because that's what IT should be doing. It shouldn't just be a tool for sending emails and paying for your Amazon order. It should be growing your business and making you more efficient, and making your customer service better for your clients, and making your team collaborate more. All of these things. And I think that's where, it's a long way I'm doing a lot of the talking here, Olivia, but like, it's a long way of saying what you said, that you need an IT partner, not an IT provider. There's a big difference between someone who is in the trenches with you and someone who is just saying, back up your data, but not actually doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I talk to, people about, when you ask, what do you do? And I say, I work in IT. I'm the person who you call and you speak to if you have a problem. And a lot of the time I get, I hate talking to our IT guy. I hate talking to our IT person. And I'm like, I want to be the IT person you want to talk to, who you're like, I'll ring Olivia up and she'll sort this out. Or I'll ring Aurora up and they'll all sort it out. And it's not I don't want to make you feel bad for not knowing about IT. That's my job. I know about IT. It's not your job. You need to focus on growing your business, and you have other things to worry about. I want you to feel like I have your back in terms of your tech support, and you don't have to worry because I worry for you.
It's mad that people accept that. It's mad that people are paying for. I'm getting off of like IT now. I mean, you know what I'm like. Jesus Christ, I chew your ear off about this all the time. But it's mad that people pay for something and then complain about how much they hate it. Can you imagine paying for Netflix and then going, I hate it. I hate it. Oh my God, I pay for Netflix and I hate it. So clearly people have just accepted that that's the state of IT. people have just accepted, like, oh, well, that's as good as it gets. It's a bit like with banks. It's like, well, I can't be bothered moving my bank account because they're all the same. Now, maybe they are, maybe they're not. But it's mad at my original point that people pay for something and then moan about it. You're paying for it, demand better. Say, this is not good enough. Again, we're not infallible. I hold my hands up. I was talking to a client yesterday about, in January, I think it was, they put a ticket in on a Friday. By their own admission, they put a ticket in on a Thursday. By their own admission, they weren't around on Friday. But then they had to deal with it on Saturday. I wasn't available on the Saturday. So then it was Monday before we got round to sorting it out. Now, like, again, partly they accepted some responsibility for that. The fact that they went around on the Friday, I wasn't around on the Saturday. But the point remains that, to me, them telling me that, my response was, I'll give you my mobile number, because then I will call me on my mobile and I will ring you back, because I do not want you to suffer. I don't want you to be like, oh my God, this needs sorting out. Now, and most companies wouldn't do that, and I don't knock them for not doing that. Because it's a double-edged sword. Some people have got my mobile number and I'd rather they didn't. But for the most part, 9 out of 10 people, I'm happy to have my mobile number. Probably 99 people out of 100. I'm happy to have my mobile number. But that is kind of the point that I think that we are trying to make, that yes, we want a weekend. Yes, we want to spend time with our friends and our families. Yes, we need to shut off occasionally. We're not, I don't want to be dealing with stuff at 4 a.m. necessarily, unless I'm on call for some reason. But I care and I want to know, and I will deal with stuff. If it's not at 4 a.m., it'll be at 7 a.m. It's like, but I must stress that, that's why we pay for managed endpoint security, which is a 24-hour operation. So when I'm having my Christmas turkey, I don't have to deal with stuff. I can sit with my family, but we pay for someone else to look after things. But again, it comes back to philosophy, doesn't it? That my philosophy is, I don't want you to suffer. Have my mobile number, because I know that we are providing a service and people have got to speak highly of that service.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't want to be the people who you're like, oh, I've got to ring IT. It's like, IT's got your back. Like, you've got Darren's mobile number. You can ring him anytime. And with the EDR, like, everybody has that peace of mind of having a 24-hour security operations center. Because most of the time, hackers, they're not going to do it. They're not working 9 to 5. They're working all the time.
Yeah.
To try and get into everybody's network. They're working 24 hours a day. They do not take breaks. So having a 24-hour security operations center gives everybody peace of mind.
Yeah, so we should say EDR stands for Endpoint Detect and Respond, and basically in a nutshell, that's behavioral scanning on your device. So if someone's moving a large chunk of files, it should be picked up that might not be something that you want to happen. If somebody is installing a known malicious piece of software, it should pick that up. So it's like behavioral stuff. It's not like virus scanning. We will come on to this in a bit, but I think we've just mentioned it, so we'll just quickly clarify. There's virus scanning, which just has a database of threats that is trying to protect from those known threats. But then there's also things that are like the behavior on a device, like that's weird, don't do that. But yeah, we'll come on to that in a minute. But yes, Olivia, you're right.
Yeah, happens often.
Rarely, often. Often, rarely. No, hang on. Happens often, rarely. Yes.
Yes.
Right, okay. We've gone off on a weird tangent, I think. Right. Oh, well, I've gone off on a weird tangent. So, yeah, so in a nutshell, boiling it down, all businesses should take the cybersecurity seriously. All businesses should be looking at this, even if they think they're too small. They should be looking at this. The cost to protect their devices properly is going to be somewhere in the region of £7 per device per month. That is largely the protection. If something needs to be done, then obviously there's other costs. Obviously we can explain that better in person, so get in touch with us. But in a nutshell, roughly £7 per month per device to do it properly. If you really wanted to do the bare minimum, £3 or £4 a month per device, I wouldn't recommend it. Olivia wouldn't recommend it, but it's better than nothing. Don't do nothing. That is such a scary idea to me that I'm getting heart palpitations even thinking about it. So we're going to move on quickly. Don't do nothing, and just generally take these things seriously, because done right, they will grow your business, like 100% without a doubt. And if you want us to qualify that, get in touch and we'll qualify that. But if you do these things right, the money that you spend on it, you will get back, and some. I promise.
Yeah.
Maybe not day one. It might take you a couple of months to get the ball rolling, but it will happen. And the investment is not huge. It's just not. It's not huge. So, yeah, get in touch. So, seeing as let's do a bit of a kind of like general chit chat. And seeing as we've covered cyber attacks, let me ask you a question, Olivia. What do businesses need to do to protect themselves? So let's delve into it a little bit more. Like, what do they need? Let's leave want out of it. Like, what does a business need to be protected, and have someone like yourself helping them when they have a problem? And also, it's worth mentioning that a lot of people, when I say, have someone like yourself, like Olivia, helping them, they think, oh, if the printer's not printing, well, yes, we do that. Oh, if I can't remember my password, yes, we do that, but it goes so much further than that in terms of strategy and how can I, this is really boring and I have to do it every week, how can I automate it, things like that. So over to you, Olivia. What does a business need to do well?
Yeah, so in order to be completely protected, this is ideal case. Ideally, EDR, we talked about a managed EDR service, which is endpoint detect and response. So because managed antivirus, it's just not enough anymore, in my opinion.
So explain the
it.
two things. Explain managed antivirus and explain EDR. I know I went into EDR, but you, in your words, you explain managed antivirus and EDR.
So the difference between them is end detection and response. It's always scanning the behavior of the machine instead of what a managed antivirus does, which is just scanning the machine for any malicious files or viruses. So and with cyber attacks getting more and more sophisticated, the antivirus scanning, it's just not cutting it anymore. It needs behavioral detection to make sure that the machine, if something sneaks past the managed antivirus, the EDR will say, hang on a minute, they're moving a load of files, or it's downloading something that we know isn't great, and it will stop it from happening before anything goes missing, or maybe even notice. It'll just stop it from happening before you notice.
Okay, so like to try and put this in not so technical terms, imagine you've got a library and there's 100,000 books in this library, and 10,000 of these books are on a list of books that people want to steal. So the antivirus is kind of like looking at that list of books that people want to steal and saying, oh, I'm looking at these books to make sure these books don't get stolen. The EDR is more someone at the front, on the front desk, watching some shifty guy tiptoeing in with a swag bag over his back, saying, that's a bit weird. Why is that guy been in here with a stripy jumper and like covering his eyes with a swag bag on his back? That don't seem right. I should probably do something about that. So it's more that difference of, is that good analogy? Because I could just completely make that up. It's more that kind of like, well, that's weird. Don't do that. That's weird. We don't want that here. I know you haven't nicked anything yet. I know you haven't done anything yet, but your behavior is weird. What you're doing is weird. And that, well, I'm physically watching these books to make sure these books don't disappear. It's those two kind of, is that, would you agree with that, Olivia, or have I just said a load of nonsense?
No, absolutely. It's basic. I always describe it as antivirus has blinkers on, like that you put on horses, it's tunnel visioned into, all right, we have a list of stuff that we know is bad. Let's just focus on that, make sure that nothing that is there. And then you take the blinkers off, and then that's EDR, and you see the bigger picture. You see people's behavior, you see hackers' behavior, and before anybody even notices, you're like, you can see the bigger picture. You can see that shouldn't be there. That's a weird behavior, instead of just blinkers laser focused on this list of stuff. And yes, managed antivirus is good. I would recommend having it as a bare minimum, but hackers, they're just getting so sophisticated now, and especially with the use of AI in that, they can just get past the antivirus. So EDR is ideal. I would recommend it for anybody, any sized business. And also a good amount of like a good quality email filter. So you don't have to constantly be seeing, the emails from the Nigerian prince or somebody pretending to be your boss asking for your phone number to send you a WhatsApp to transfer bank information, and then just having somebody who knows what they're talking about, who you feel like you can talk to and send emails to. That's what I think.
I mean, it's mad that you have to say that, Olivia, but you're right. Yeah, I mean that should be a given, but yeah, absolutely. And also kind of almost EDR for those emails, because the emails live in the cloud. You know, they don't have to be on your device. So obviously the EDR software is monitoring the device, but then what if someone doesn't get into their device, gets into their emails on Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace? You need to also monitor that environment, because that's, you know, files are on SharePoint or on Google Drive, and so sometimes they don't even need to get into your device. So it's important to monitor those environments as well. And I know what you're thinking, this sounds like it's getting expensive. It's not as much as you would think. It's honestly, it's not. It's pounds, like a pound or pounds per account. Yes, if you've got 200 staff, it adds up. But if you've got 200 staff, I would hope you can afford it. So it, you know, and also backups. I'll quickly mention this and then you can elaborate. But, you know, just because a company says they're backing up, it one doesn't mean they are, and it also doesn't mean that the data is good. So, you know, how do you protect against that, Olivia? How do you make sure that the data is being backed up, number one, and number two, the data is good?
Yeah, I mean, making sure that you've got a good quality backup service is important, and knowing the different kinds of backups that you have. So you can have a cloud backup, or you can have like a full local backup. But I would tend to recommend having both, just in case. And then you need if you've got a server with a load of files on it, you don't just want to back up the files, you want to back up the programs. And you can always tell when the backup is a little bit too small, or, you know, just right. Yeah, that looks like the right amount of data. So, you know, and backup testing as well is really important. So every so often, just like test the backup, get it, mount the backup in the cloud, and just have a look and make sure everything is there. And
that highlights the difference in some backups, because what you're talking about there in terms of mounting it in the cloud is like a granular backup where you can drill down into the individual files. Some backups you can't do that. Some backups is literally just a database, and it's there, and it has a file size, and you just have to, you know, sacrifice to the gods of IT that is going to work if you need it. But, you know, definitely a granular backup that you can mount, and you can say, well, let me just spot check some files. I'll just randomly open a file, and does it open? Is the information there? And, you know, if you do 7 files from each backup, then and they're all okay, it's a good, you know, representation that you know, a good 70% of your backup's going to be good or better, you know, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even just about, like, I just recommend backups for everybody, because it's not about part of it is about cybersecurity. You don't want people, it is a solution to, you know, get all of the data from a backup that you know is fine and you know is good. But also, like, things happen, places flood, you know, you could lose all of your devices in a fire, but, you know, you've got backups, so none of your data is lost. So it's not just about some malicious hacker over in Russia trying to get access to all of your data. It's acts of God as well.
God, always vengeful and going Old Testament God. Yeah. So, oh God, we're gonna lose a lot of Christians now. Just Muslim and Sikh IT support, and Buddhist IT support from now on. Christians are gone. Okay, so yeah, that I agree with absolutely everything you just said, Olivia. Impeccable as always. Yeah. So, you know, we said that, you know, people think IT is resetting passwords and fixing printers, which, you know, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is resetting passwords and fixing printers. But, you know, what are some of the most common things that come into the help desk that maybe people haven't thought about? Like, maybe people are like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that is something that happens quite a lot, and if I didn't have to deal with it, that might be nice.
Yeah, I mean,
or if my current IT provider is just not dealing with it, it might be nice if we found someone who did.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the time we get people ringing up saying like, oh, I know this is a stupid question, and I'm always like, what they taught you in school. There is no such thing as a stupid question. If you want to ask me about what would you recommend for sending a large file somewhere securely, I can tell you that. And I won't think that you're stupid for asking me that. And, you know, just giving general advice about IT and should I go for a Mac or a Windows machine? And it's like, well, whatever you want to do. I prefer Windows. Or just having people ring up unapologetically with their issues, like, I don't know how to do this. Can you explain it to me? Can you show me how can I get onto a VPN? What is a VPN? Why do I need it? So a lot of what we get is just general questions. And a lot of people on IT help desk, you know, you ring somebody up and they're like, oh, make you feel like an idiot. We're never going to do that for you just asking us a question. So yeah, that's a lot of what I get is just general questions. But yeah, a lot of password resets, a lot of setting up multi-factor authentications, new users, people leaving businesses. Can you and having an IT provider who you can go to, and you'll know that if somebody is leaving and you need them to have no access anymore, immediately, knowing you have an IT provider who you can go to, send an email, say, this is urgent, can you do it? And we'll respond within, I think my record has been a minute of being able to just switch somebody's access off. So
okay, I was going to say, I'm sure you've responded in quicker than a minute before in your
probably
life.
Quicker.
What you're talking about is start to finish, right?
Yeah, start to finish.
Request the solution. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, it's important to say that, you know, we're human beings, and we can sit here and tell everyone how great we are, and we are great. We are fantastic, and everyone who knows us agrees with that. But, you know, occasionally stuff happens, and it might take longer than a minute to answer a help desk request. We're not here to pull the wall over anyone's eyes, but that's where we say we fall back on things like, well, have my mobile number. So when it's not quite going how we want, give me a ring and give me a kick in the backside, you know, and we'll believe me, we'll sort it, because we want to sort it, because that's what we're about. But yeah, so it's you know, I was having this conversation with someone a few weeks ago about it's not about the 90% of the time. It's about the 10% of the time where things don't go to plan. You know, it's about the 10% of the time where things are a real problem. Because yeah, for the most part, 90% of the time things are fine. It's that small grey area of 10% where something needs to happen and it's just not happening. And that's where I think we excel, and that's where we set ourselves apart. And not my opinion, the opinion of everyone who knows us.
Absolutely. And it's not just firefighting either. It's not just ring us when you have a problem, because a lot of the times the more complex problems are just like questions about SharePoint migration and things like that. So it's not just firefighting. We're constantly doing stuff in the background that people don't see, looking at issues, trying to get a fix that might not be as simple as we originally thought it was.
Yeah, sometimes things are, it's always the things that seem simple. I mean, this is the mad thing, like the things that seem straightforward and seem simple are the things that like cause the biggest complications. You know, like just this week we had a client that when they were trying to send an email through Word or Excel, it wasn't sending the email, and it's like something that seems so simple, and then you get around to it, and basically Microsoft have broken their own software, and there's no way of fixing it. And it's things like that you think, well, this should be a 2-minute job. Turns out to be massive because Microsoft has done something stupid. Don't sue me for saying that, Microsoft. I have receipts if you want to come at me, slide into my DMs. But it just it just goes to show that it is that weird kind of like, maybe not even 10%, 2% is just that. Hopefully by applying the right attitude and the right philosophy, we set ourselves apart. So we're almost bang on an hour, Olivia. I'm impressed with us because we feared that this might be a 4-minute conversation. So that's good, right? If we're going to make this a regular thing, which hopefully we can, we need a theme song for this series, right? I know that we both have quite different tastes in music, so this could be interesting. But what would I know you're into like Japanese horror, comic, anime, K-pop. I don't know what you're into. Ice hockey music. What should Olivia? What should our theme song be?
Maybe like We Didn't Start the Fire.
Oh, I like that. Is that Billy Joel? Is it Billy Joel?
I think so. Billy Joel.
Yeah, maybe End of the World as We Know It by REM. Or no, we're not painting night in the nicest light.
No.
What's that one that Vanilla Ice? Okay. Well, we'll wrap it up now. But what's that one by Vanilla Ice? Is it Under Pressure? No, well, Vanilla Ice sampled Under Pressure by Queen
and David Bowie.
So I think internally, our theme song should be Under Pressure. But for the video podcast series that we're going to take over from whoever's number one, Joe Rogan or whoever it is, I don't know. It should be something more positive, like, I don't know, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day or something like that.
That's not positive.
It's kind of, no, because it's saying, I hope you had the time of your life.
No, but it's like a song that you play at a funeral.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's multi-purpose, but it's saying, I hope you had the time of your life. That's a good thing, isn't it? If I said to you, if we went to, we like to go to Moose Coffee for coffee and Eggs Benedict, and at the end I said to you, oh, I hope you had the time of your life, you wouldn't go, screw you, Darren. You'd go, oh, that's nice. I did, thank you. Oh, I think Olivia's gone. All right, well, all right, okay, and a great advert for IT support. Olivia didn't plug her laptop in, so we had to tag this on the end. We'll maybe come to a conclusion on our theme song next time. I still think it should be Green Day, but we will leave it there. If you've got any comments, if you want to ask any questions, if you want to get in touch, love the video, tell everybody about it. Wow, look what I found, the new greatest video podcast in the world. It's not just a white man, it's a white woman as well. just what the world needs. So yeah, we'll leave it there. Olivia, give us a really poignant, inspirational ending that everyone will basically reconsider their life, please.
You put me on the spot. Sort out your IT security before you sorry that you didn't. Benefit of hindsight.
What? Okay, perfect. That was perfect. That was perfect, Olivia. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. See you later, everyone. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you soon.